Thank you to our naturalist sponsors, Advantage Solutions, A Greener World, Daabon, Lakanto, and FrieslandCampina Ingredients.
Advantage Solutions is the leading omnichannel retail solutions agency in North America, connecting CPG brands and retailers to drive sales for less. Advantage leverages its unparalleled insights, expertise, and relationships to help brands and retailers of all sizes generate demand and get products into the hands of consumers wherever they shop. With a passion for serving founders within the natural and organic channel, FDM, a division of Advantage, helps emerging brands break through, grow with the right retailers, build sustainable momentum, and successfully scale. Today's episode is brought to you by Lakanto, a brand on a mission to bring chi to life. Founded 30 years ago in Japan, Lakanto's story began with Shota Saraya, a successful entrepreneur with a sweet tooth who was diagnosed with diabetes. Refusing to give up life's sweetness, he and his team developed the modern monk fruit extraction process, creating the world's first monk fruit sweetener. Today, Lakanto offers 0 and reduced sugar sweeteners, syrups, baking mixes, and ready-to-eat snacks, all designed to help people enjoy sweetness as part of a more balanced, intentional way of eating. With a commitment to clean, quality ingredients, the brand inspires people to eat well, live well, and enjoy the sweet life.
Welcome back. One of our favorite guests, the Jenna Fitch, our queen of all things conference, community. And this is like your season.
Oh, yes, it is.
Last season, right? And Kaya's here. I'm not sure if anyone can see Kaya.
Oh. There she is.
Had to give a shout out to Kaya. So we have a lot to talk about today, but one of the things that we really wanted to dig into is our CPG Innovation Summit. There's a ton new happening at Expo West, as well as so many of the things that we know and love about Expo West. So we have a little bit of everything coming up for our community in Anaheim in March. But CPG Innovation Summit, we're going to talk about on this episode of The Naturalist. If you're just tuning into The Naturalist for the first time, it is your go-to podcast for all things CPG industry. We talk about trends, industry issues. We have lovely guests join us, and it's always great. Let's dig in, Jenna. Let's start with the word innovation.
That's a big word.
It's a big word. It means lots of things to lots of people. We built a whole day around it at Expo West. What does innovation mean to you?
I feel kind of a little bit old school coming in with like an environmental background. Like I'm like, innovation is finding new ways to do things, new processes. I've been seeing this a lot in our industry, maybe bringing back things that we might have lost or have forgotten about that could really help us solve problems, whether it's human health needs, environmental needs, social needs. So innovation to me is coming up either rediscovering or finding new ways to do things that help us. There's a tendency maybe when we think of innovation, we think of maybe overcomplicating things more than they need to be, or maybe leaning deeply into tech. And I do think there's a place for that. But I also really like just kind of taking a step back, especially when we're thinking about our food system and just really thinking, what are our problems and what does it take to solve them? And maybe it's not as difficult as we think.
Yeah, I think that's great, Jenna. And I agree with you, right? There's so many different directions that this can go. For me, a lot of it is that piece of new ways of thinking. Yeah. It may not always look like that brand new product or ingredient, but sometimes it can be behind the scenes, new ways of leading and inspiring teams or new ways of developing those solutions around supply chains and sustainability and packaging. So it really is kind of rewiring our brains to think about things and think about solutions in new ways. And collaboration, I think, is one of the most powerful tools that we have to drive innovation. So those are all reasons that we decided to launch the CPG Innovation Summit at Expo West. It'll be on March 3rd, Tuesday, March 3rd. And we really want to create an environment where the industry could come together and learn and collaborate and talk about all of these different perspectives on innovation and find the tools and resources to help advance innovation initiatives. So it will be one part content, one part networking, one part just overall amazingness, right? All parts amazingness.
Right. Yeah. I hope we'll have some fun too. We're bringing back some maybe recognizable or old school components of Expo that involve pitching and presentations. We'll bring some components that you might have seen at past events like a business school, or really beloved things like getting to interact with people while sharing food with them. That feels really important. So yeah, we'll have some fun while we're doing some learning.
So let's talk a little bit more about programming. I want to go back to something that you started off with, which is this idea of back to basics, this kind of back to basics approach that rather than thinking about innovation as something that always has to be like the next technology or the next kind of way, but rather rewinding and sort of deconstructing our food system. So we actually chose our keynote for Innovation Summit very deliberately to frame the day and get people kind of grounded in that idea. Sometimes the most innovative things can be those that are tapping into something familiar. So let's talk about our keynote for the day. We're very excited.
We are going to get to hear from, first thing in the morning, we'll get to hear from Jason Buechel, the CEO of Whole Foods Market, as well as Mark Bittman, longtime and former New York Times columnist and food advocate. They're going to help us take a step back and really look at what is innovation, both from a retail perspective and how a very influential voice in the industry when we look at Whole Foods and their role behind what certifications are we looking at, consumer insights, how are retailers supporting all of the suppliers and getting these amazing products into the market? Like, what is he looking at? And how is he working with other food advocacy voices like a Mark Bittman? When we think about like what's really needed, like how are we addressing food access? What ingredients are needed to help keep us really healthy as we're finding out all these new things around our macros and what we should be watching. They're going to help us really think through what is innovation. Does it always have to be the next flashy thing? Is it just a flavor iteration, or is it truly looking at the needs of our food system, whether it's organic production or climate issues? And are we going to be able to grow certain crops? Where are they? Back to our farmers and such. I really hope we'll dig in on some of that. And like you said, take a step back.
Yes.
Rewind and just like frame it. And what does our industry need? What is the history of our industry? I mean, something we didn't mention yet, but this year will be our 45th anniversary for Natural Products Expo West. So what does that mean? Like, this is a really good reflection point, and I think they'll help us do that at this event.
Yes, I agree with all of that so much. And I think that what they're going to also help us do that's going to be so important as we go through the day and certainly the whole week at Expo is the needs of the industry, as you noted, but having those be rooted in the needs of consumers. Mm-hmm. What is it that consumers are asking for? And any company that's launching, their brand or their products needs to be really connected to what it is that consumers are asking for. And I believe that any form of innovation, whatever form it takes, needs to be rooted in true consumer needs and environmental health. So all of that is something they're going to talk about. And we also have a second keynote later in the day, which similarly is going to talk about consumer needs from the perspective of PepsiCo. So we want to bring together companies of all sizes at this. So if you're a brand in the CPG industry, this is definitely a place for you to be if you're a business services or really anyone doing business in this space. But we want to be connecting companies across the industry and again, of all sizes. So hearing from, some really amazing entrepreneurs. We'll have a panel later in the day with companies that have grown their businesses in a scrappy way by addressing consumer needs, but also hear from one of the world's largest CPGs that is trying to really evolve its business model. So that will be cool too. At Daabon, sustainability starts from the soil. For more than a century, Daabon has grown with one mission: to nurture people and planet. Founded in Santa Marta, Colombia, and proudly carried forward by its third generation, Daabon brings sustainable, traceable, and organic palm oil solutions to brands across the world. From the soil to the market, every step reflects our family's commitment to integrity, innovation, and respect for nature. Daabon, the future of palm oil.
So who Jessica is alluding to is we'll get to hear from Rachel Ferdinando, who's heading up the U.S. PepsiCo North America food business. And she's really looking at what are consumers demanding. There's been, if you haven't heard, there's been a lot of conversations around artificial ingredients, dyes. So what are ways that we can take tangible, manageable steps to start reducing some of these products? So she's really been looking at that. They've also been looking at how they're working with new products in their portfolio, like Siete, to think about like what are some of those heritage products, some really culturally relevant products that had some amazing founders that have found ways to get these products to more people. So I think food access is a big piece. How do we scale a lot of these amazing products with good, clean ingredients? And really just listen to our customers.
And I think this is a really great example of at the CPG Innovation Summit, I believe that everyone there, whether they're a presenter or an attendee, is there to both share and learn. And I think what we hear from Pepsi will represent that they're going to talk about how they learn from their consumers, how they learn from data and insights. I know that's something that you're passionate about research and data and insights and bringing that to our programming. And so every conversation there is going to be about how can we listen, learn, and adapt our innovation strategies in order to address these evolving needs. So pretty exciting. And in the spirit of that, we also have some workshops around two topics that I think are absolutely critical now to doing business in CPG. One is around AI and how it influences marketing and branding and how to remain really centered in humanity as you get your message and story out there, but also leverage the tools that are available. So we're going to talk to some industry pros who will walk us through how they're thinking about marketing and branding in an AI world and their social media strategies, and then do some hands-on learning and idea sharing, and then also looking at the evolving retail landscape. Retail is changing so much, distribution models, retail relationships, everything from accelerator programs at certain retailers to kind of just totally reimagining and re-envisioning what retail can be in an omnichannel world. So there's a lot happening in both of those spaces. So we're going to have some workshops around those.
I'm really excited about that. I would say if you're looking at a technology bell curve of adoption, I'm usually on the back end of the bell curve. I'm like being pulled, kicking and screaming. It's something that even I cannot ignore. Like we're talking about like, is SEO dead? Or if not, how are you using generative AI to ensure that your brand is showing up in searches? Like if people are using AI assistants to create their grocery list and their next recipe, like how do you make sure your brand is there? How do you make sure your retail store is part of that mix or being considered when they're looking for products? So we really want to dig into that. And that's going to bleed into what retail looks like. I know as we're trying to figure out how to reach consumers where they are, they're shopping in a lot of different places. We're seeing lots of new partnerships on the retail side, maybe with groups we wouldn't have thought about when we're looking at like OpenAI and Walmart or some of the different partnerships that are launching. So we want to make sure you feel informed and ready for what's coming this year.
Yes, I was just thinking I've never seen you kick and scream anything. So you're
AI might be one of them.
Those we also have a lunch where we're going to have members of the industry hosting discussions at different tables around all different topics. So all the different topics that are influencing CPG and in some way, shape, or form having an impact on innovation. So we're really looking forward to bringing so many voices and leaders of all kinds to the table, the lunch table at Expo. So that'll be another really dynamic piece. I did want to come back to, you talked about the pitches a little bit. Now, giving companies a platform is so important at Expo West. That's what it's all about. It's about making sure that companies can share their stories and get in front of the right people. So we have two really cool ways to do that. We have our Pitch Slam, which is something that has been at Expo for a long time.
Before my time.
Before your time.
It's over 12 years old, I can tell you that.
Wow. Oh, an adolescence. Yes, at least.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe
it's our rowdy teenager.
Yeah. Full-on teenager. So that is coming back, but it's going to be part of this day. So it is very much going to be rooted in stories of innovation. So companies to share their innovative business models and really be seeking support and resources and get a stage for those awesome initiatives that they have in place. And we've gotten lots of great submissions. So there's going to be some really great emerging brands on the stage. And then we have a separate room called our deal room. And I'm so excited about this because Expo West is a great gathering place for investors who are looking to fund CPG companies in the right way and companies that are looking to gain capital from mission-aligned investors. So this room is all about that content, and we'll be opening it up to companies presenting for capital. Those companies that are actively raising capital, they're ready for the next stage of their business. We are currently accepting applications for that, and that'll be really cool because it's our first time doing one of these Nutrition Capital Network events at Expo, and that'll be part of Innovation Summit too. So
do you think anybody doesn't know what Nutrition Capital Network is?
I am sure there are some people. Would you like to tell?
I could. So Nutrition Capital Network is part of our team here at New Hope, and it's our platform to connect brands with investors and mentors, strategic advisors. If you're looking for capital, this network, this branch of what we do is how we connect you with that money and those people that can help you get there. So you might have seen NCN or Nutrition Capital Network mentioned at past expos, maybe at Supply Side, some of our sister shows. This will be a really great way for you to see the different services and industry and community that it can provide access to within the context of this CPG Innovation Summit.
That is so helpful, Jenna. Thank you for that context. And we often talk about NCN as being about raising capital, but also supporting innovation. So it's so perfect that it sits in this space at the show because I think those two things go really hand in hand. You see a lot of companies raising capital talking about how they're investing in innovation initiatives. And oftentimes those are ones that are rooted in sustainability as well. So it's really a perfect place to be connecting brands with investors.
Yeah. And there's so many amazing food and beverage and supplement and healthcare or healthy lifestyle brands that just everybody, if you ask what's keeping you up at night, it's probably money. It's probably capital. It's probably a constant fundraise that our business leaders are in. So how do we fund and make sure that all of those healthy innovations that are working toward food access, toward organic agriculture, toward cleaner products, that is, let's get some money into those pockets and make sure it happens because there's some really great products you're going to see at Expo.
So on that note, Jenna, we talked a lot about Innovation Summit and some of the ideas that will come to life through that programming. And there's so much more happening throughout the week. So what are some of those other key topics that are probably innovation adjacent that you have your eye on that people can expect to see at the show?
Yeah, we're excited. You'll see sessions along some broader themes that probably aren't too different from previous years, but I really want to lean into sustainable innovation. So that might be different ways of doing business, processes, ways of looking at our industry and the world. We'll also definitely dig into organic and regenerative systems. If anyone is also following the news and feeling a little worried about all of the pullbacks on like PFAS and in our pesticides and such, and just different data that's out there, like I want to make sure we have clean ingredients and the way that we're doing it is really good for people and planet. So we will dig into that and talk about some of the different ways that whether our certifiers, partners, farmers, brands are leaning in to make sure that we have healthier production and ingredients in our food. We'll also look at supplements and nutrition and wellness. There's a lot happening, especially around policy. So I want to dig into that and how that'll help our retailers and brands with getting their products to market and telling their stories about amazing products. We'll also look at the future of retail. As we were talking about earlier, everything's changing. Like everything from the way consumers are purchasing products to how they're being sold to how they're being found online, through word of mouth, et cetera. So we'll lean into that as well. So those are a couple of the things that I'm seeing a lot of, and hopefully we'll be able to provide some updates and information and resources for you all.
And thanks, Jenna. And programming is up and live, a lot of it in the agenda.
And we are still adding so much. Okay. So keep an eye on the agenda. That'll be popping up over the next couple of weeks. So lots of really good things to look forward to.
Oh, there's so much. And one final thing that we didn't talk about with the CPG Innovation Summit, so as people are thinking about, okay, taking all these insights from the show and applying them to their business, is we're going to have that really cool space called our Content Creation Studio. That's going to be at the CPG Innovation Summit. You'll be able to record a podcast or do some social media training. You can get a consultation around storytelling. So a lot of the programming, both at the CPG Innovation Summit and throughout the week, is really tailored to companies that are looking to start implementing best practices right now. And I love that. You made it so actionable, both in, how people connect with each other at Expo and then in the style of content that people will see throughout the week. So that's one of the things that's new.
Wait, can I add something else?
Oh, please. Yes.
Right next door to the Content Creator Studio, we also have a networking lounge. So if you find someone on site that you really want to talk to, lean in more, there'll be space there. We'll also have a couple of different activations or meetups happening in that space. I know we'll have one for different investors that want to meet with each other, connect. That'll be later in the afternoon. We'll also have an opportunity for any of those brands that are presenting for capital at the deal room. They'll also have a chance to present or have a tabletop in that space and meet with different interested parties. So there'll be a lot happening in that space as well. We know it's tough. The campus is a large campus, but when there's 80,000 of us, it feels a little tight. So we wanted to create some spaces where you can get off your feet, meet with people, maybe make some new lasting relationships. So definitely come check those areas out.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And stay tuned because we'll have a lot more content around innovation, particularly the types of companies that we'll see at Expo. If you missed last week's episode, it was about the Nexty Awards, which of course, that is where we get the front row seat to all things innovation and CPG. So Adrian and Meredith talked about some of the highlights in last week's episode. And just tons more to come. And we can't wait to see if you have questions about CPG Innovation Summit or anything Expo West. Check out the Expo West website, the agenda, as well as all the content that we'll have rolling out on newhope.com. So,
deep breaths.
Deep breaths. At FrieslandCampina Ingredients, we're committed to providing innovative, nutritious ingredients to address health and well-being challenges worldwide. Our mission is to supply the right ingredients to food and beverage brands, working with them to create highly nutritious and sustainable applications to help people get the most out of life, always. This episode is brought to you by A Greener World. Shoppers today want to know how their food is really produced. A Greener World connects mindful consumers, farmers, and brands through meaningful and transparent sustainability certifications. AGW certified producers offer a reliable supply of sustainable, ethical products that consumers trust, helping you meet consumer demand while making a difference for the welfare of our planet, animals, and people. Learn about our certifications and how to source AGW certified products at agreenerworld.org.